Hello and welcome back to the Adopt a Tree program. I'm Heather Donahoe and I'm with the kids in SWCD. Today's theme is the signs of fall. Have you noticed any changes lately? Has the air been getting a little cooler? Or have the leaves on the trees been changing color? What about the squirrels in your yard? Are they getting fatter? Or the birds that you see in the sky? Are they changing? Are there different birds now? These are all signs of fall. Today, we're going to visit a different tree. Normally, we'd hang out with Stan, but he's an evergreen. Later on, we'll give Stan a visit and discuss why he acts a little differently at this time of year than other trees. But for now, I want to introduce you to Louie. Louie is an oak tree. Oak trees are deciduous, which means that at the end of the growing season, they lose their leaves. Here in this temperate climate, that means that he loses his leaves every fall. The seasons change because the earth rotates on its axis around the sun, which changes the angle at which the sun's light hits the earth. During the summer solstice, which is June 21st, the sunlight hits the northernmost part of the earth almost directly. That is why in the summer our days are longer and warmer. During the winter, our part of the earth is angled away from the sun's light, farthest away from the sun's light. So that's why our days are shorter and colder. The winter solstice is December 22nd in the northern hemisphere, which is where we live. In the southern hemisphere, they experience the seasons too. They just experience them opposite of the way that we do. This time of year has many names. Fall, autumn, and harvest are just to name a few. This time of year always occurs between summer and winter, and in the northern hemisphere, it occurs in September, October, and November. This is a transitionary period where plants and animals take the bounty of summer and store their resources for the scarcity of winter. We see this through animals like squirrels who bury their nuts in the ground and store them in hollow tree trunks. Bears put on weight all summer in preparation for their long winter's hibernation. Geese and other birds fly south for the winter. That's why you might see different kinds of birds at this time of year. And plants start to go into dormancy. They do this by taking all the energy that they have and storing their resources in their stems and their roots. Plants like Louie that are deciduous do this too. We see this as the colors of the leaves start to change and they begin to drop off. This occurs because as the temperatures drop and the days get shorter, the chlorophyll is triggered to begin breaking down. Chlorophyll is the green pigment in leaves that is responsible for photosynthesis and producing energy. Other pigments exist in the leaves as well, and they become visible as the chlorophyll fades. Carotenoid pigments are responsible for the yellow and oranges of fall, and they are always present in the leaves. Anthocyanin is a product of a chemical reaction which happens as the temperatures drop and photosynthesis slows down. Anthocyanin is responsible for the red color of leaves in the fall. It is not present in the spring and summer in the leaves of the tree. As the colors change, the cells, or the basic unit of life, at the base of the leaf where they connect to the tree begin to die. As this connection weakens, eventually the leaves fall to the ground. This benefits the tree by keeping nutrients and water stored in the tree for the winter, and it protects the tree from freeze damage during the cold temperatures of winter. However, the tree will not be able to produce energy until new leaves grow back in the spring. Now we're going to check in and see what Stan is up to at this time of year. Evergreens, like Stan, do not lose their leaves at this time of year. Instead, they keep their needles all year round. Their needles are coated in wax, which keeps the moisture inside during the dry winter months. They also contain chemicals that act like a kind of natural antifreeze that prevents the tree from being damaged during freezing conditions. This chemical is also responsible for the distinctive Christmas tree scent. Evergreens have a narrow profile, and this prevents them from storing too much snow and breaking branches during the winter. How is your tree preparing for the winter? Are there any animal signs of preparation around your tree? Included with this lesson is the Signs of Fall journal page. Answer these questions in your journal and be sure to include a picture of how your tree is changing in your journal as well. While you're out making observations, collect 2 to 4 green leaves and 2 to 4 leaves that have begun to change. You'll need them for the next experiment. Now we're going to do an experiment. This experiment should show what pigments are contained within your leaves. For this experiment, you will need 2 to 4 green leaves and 2 to 4 leaves that have already begun to change color. You will also need a pair of scissors and a ruler to cut your filter paper. For this, I just used coffee filters into 2 by 6 inch strips. You will also need some tape and a couple of pencils or any other straight rod type items. You will need 2 glass jars. These are old salsa jars. You will need some isopropyl alcohol. And then you'll need something to cut your samples with. I am going to use a magic bullet because I want the samples to get really fine, but you can use just a knife and a cutting board too, and just dice up your samples as small as you can. Either way will work. So I'm going to chop up my samples really quickly. So once your samples are chopped up as fine as you can make them, we're going to add some isopropyl alcohol. We're just adding enough to cover the sample. Now we're going to take your pencils, some tape, and the 2 by 6 strips of filter paper, and we're going to add those to the jars. So you're just going to set your pencil on top of the jar so that it balances. Then you want the tip of the filter paper to just touch the alcohol in the jar, just barely touch it. So you will slowly lower that down. And once it's reached that spot, you can tape it into place. Oop, I got a little too much tape. Then we'll do the same for the second sample. And now we wait. This portion can take anywhere from an hour to a week. What we're waiting for is for the alcohol to wick about halfway up the filters and for the color in the leaves or the pigments to be released onto the filter paper. So once you see that, then you can take your filter papers out of the jars and lay them on some paper towels to dry. So it took about 4 hours for my samples to show enough pigment that I was satisfied, and then I took them out of the jars and let them dry on a paper towel overnight. So you can see here for the green leaves, the chlorophyll pigment showed up as a line of green. But on the turned leaves, the leaves that were yellow, there is no chlorophyll pigment line in the same location. Then we can also see that the carotenoid pigmentation was carried through here and ended about there. So that shows us that the carotenoid pigment is present in the green leaves, even when we can't see it. Thank you for joining us for this Adopt-A-Tree lesson today. We hope that you enjoyed this lesson, and if you did, please share it with your friends and family. Thank you again, and have a good day.